What is a nickel pressure? The nickel position is the slot defender. And in modern football, it's one of the most important positions because it aligns to the passing strength, sometimes to the field. And it's that third, second level player that really defines what that defense can do within coverage. But a nickel pressure is when the defense decides to blitz it. So if the nickel is one of the most important positions on the field, then the pressure from him and the paths that he uses are also going to be very, very important. That's what we're going to be breaking down today. The different paths, when to use them, and then look at a couple of film clips that illustrate exactly why teams use nickel pressures. This is probably the most common pressure in football is sending your overhang to the field or the passing string, so your nickel, and just sending him off the edge. I call this tight Newton. It could be over Newton. It doesn't matter. This is, again, going to be sending your overhang, your nickel, off of the edge, and he's going to be working a vertical path off that edge. Now, it's important to understand how back placement affects this path. If we are going to blitz the nickel, he needs to understand where the running back is. I call these knife rules. And so when the running back is away, we want to bend to the back. So as I work vertically, I see we're getting split zone. I can then bend to the back because I don't necessarily need to have contain outside because I can hold that contain as I'm working to the back. So running back away, I bend to the back. If the running back is to me, then I become the quarterback player. So running back to equals I need to climb to the quarterback. So here, let's say we're running some sort of a GY counter read, and we are going to have this tackle lock, and then we have the GY off of it. He's reading the end disappears. He's going to pull it because he doesn't think anybody's coming. And here we have the nickel off the edge. This is really good too when you're attacking zone. Let's say the tight end was over here and we're just attacking any kind of zone read, right? If it's zone read, the running back is gone. The quarterback can pull it. Our defensive end is gone. So there's nobody there for the quarterback to look. That way he's going to pull it. And then that's where we get that vertical stem. I want to take the quarterback. So running back away, I bend to the back. Running back to, I'm going to take the quarterback, climb to the quarterback, set, contain to the quarterback. Those are what are called knife rules. And if I'm blitzing off the edge, which that's the number one call within this system, then I need to make sure that I know my knife rules. So the number one call in this system or in a nickel pressure is going to be Newton. I like to always use like words for tags. So you can call this stone for outside, call this Newton. He's going to attack outside. The counter to this is inside. This is called a stride path. So we have stone outside. We have stride inside. We are going to have the defensive end climb. We are then going to send the nickel underneath into that B gap. So all we're doing is an exchange. So here we're attacking the edge. This is the number one call that you see in nickel pressures. Stride is really good when you want to attack inside. Maybe they're running zone lock. Maybe it's a third down call and you know you're going to get a four-man slide over to the jack. You can really attack that B gap. So you want to have different ways. If we're going to get an advanced level in this, we have what's called spiders. So one of the things that we're starting to see in modern football is we're starting to get the Y to the flat as an RPO. Well, if I blitz the nickel off of the edge, he can then see if the quarterback pulls it. He's going to throw to the Y, I can climb, or the quarterback puts the ball in the belly because that defensive end is holding that outside. He can't dig out that B gap anymore because we have GT. So he's going to chase and climb to the quarterback. We then can spider that, which is basically crawl across the line. So you just, I like verbal cues when we're teaching these things. Spider means inside, right? And we want to trace or we want to crawl across. And so therefore, as we're working, we see the GT, I can then fold. Now we're going to get into 3 film clips that illustrate each one of these techniques. Let's dive into the film. Okay, so we're going to look at all three of these paths. I picked this one for Newton, which is our typical nickel pressure. So all we're going to get from this is we are going to get our defensive end working. We're going to get our overhang. He is going to be vertical out of this. Now, you can run this as a creeper, meaning that it's a replacement pressure. So you can run this where you drop this out. You can run any of your 7-man traditional coverages behind it from quarters all the way to cover 3. You can make this a 5-man pressure. So all I'm really talking about is really that front side path that we're trying to get to. Now, the reason why I chose this is we are going to get a really good example of kind of working vertically to the quarterback, and then we bend to the back once we know that the ball is gone. So this is where we're going to see a real vertical path by this. If the running back was set opposite, okay, so imagine that this is now the back. This guy is no longer here. We could then really bend back across this. But watch how he takes a vertical stem through this. As the ball is snapped, our nickel is going to work vertically. Notice how at this point in the snap, he is working vertical. He's got this kind of, spinner outside zone. So you don't necessarily have to worry about the quarterback run game. But because of this spinner action is actually going to replace the quarterback in this. We're getting our GY look here with spinner action off of it. So instead of the quarterback being a read player, we now have to climb vertically to make sure that we can intercept any kind of outside perimeter attacking run. And so you see him work vertically. Then as the ball goes, he sees 30 doesn't have the ball. So what does he do? He bends it back and chases the running back, eventually ending up meeting him in the backfield, kind of making that vice tackle with 57, who's working vertical off of that. So again, this is Newton. Nickel pressure, you can call it whatever you want. Stone is what is a term. He is now going to work vertical. He sees it's not there. Then he's allowed to bend to the back. Stride is typically seen on third downs as really a simulated pressure builder. It's a really good path to attack pass protections, especially when we're going to get a 4-man slide. Or big on big, and they're going to open up that B gap. Now on early downs, how can we use this? This is a really good example of how you can use this B gap pressure. So you can see here that we have a typical over front with the 3 technique right here, set to our tight end. We are going to have a zone lock, meaning that we're going to send the defensive end vertical and that tackle is going to stick with him. So in a zone action play, where is the alley in this? That's going to be in the B gap. How do we get the nickel into the B gap? We run stride. And so all stride means he is going to fold inside right here. This is a good example of it. One of the best nickels in the NFL for blitzing is Kyler Gordon. He is a monster at this. You can see right here, he's working. You get this vertical set right by the tackle. He's going to base block out that defensive end. 6 is already headed that way. He runs through the B gap. And look at that. We have that zone action. The guard is looking to get up to the second level. He's not looking outside for the nickel. He backdoors that guard. The tackle who's locked on the defensive end cannot help, and 6 is able to go through that, run that down for a tackle for loss. So we've seen Newton. Here's our stride path off of that. So we've seen stone, we've seen stride. This is a good example of how you can do this on early downs in attacking run games. If this was a gap scheme, let's say that they're running single back power and this tackle hinge blocks on this defensive end, that defensive end stays outside, you could still get the same action. So even if it's single back power and that guard's pulling, you're still going to have a really nice alley right here in the B gap. And that's why teams use this, and you need to have both. The problem that you can get sending him outside is that this thing can hit quicker than he can bend to that running back. And if the other thing that we didn't mention in the knife rules is if it is under center, then you can go ahead and bend to the back. How you do this in pistol? If the quarterback's face is to me, I'm going to take the quarterback. If the quarterback turns his back to me, I can bend to the back. So those are the rules from under center and also from pistol. This is a good example of a stride path, essentially blowing up a run here on an early down, attacking that B gap and attacking the run blocking by the Jaguars. In our last clip, we're going to look at spider, or what's called a readout. So we're going to get our nickel pressure. He's going to work off the edge as a defensive end. We're going to get our nickel working vertically, right? But what we get from Oklahoma is a GT. So when we get GT, what ends up happening is we're going to go ahead and keep our defensive end locked on the quarterback. He is going to go ahead and stay on it. So he's going to squeeze and climb the outside shoulder of the quarterback. As the running back disappears, you're going to see the nickel work vertically, and then he's going to fold back inside. That's what you call a spider. So you can tag a readout out of this. You can either force fit it, or if your players are more advanced or you're at the higher levels, you can also get a readout out of this. So at the snap of the ball, you can see we get GT. Defensive end works vertically. Okay, he's going to take the quarterback. He sees that disappear. You can see that we're getting that motion down. He's going to block that center. The nickel sees this, and he's going to just fold inside. Now, we would love for him to make the tackle in the backfield, but he essentially kills a play. The running back has to stop, and then our defensive end just works back to the running back. But you can see how this is a readout. So what we've looked at is stone, outside, contain, right? Path. You have a stride path, which means we're going to work into the B gap. And then you have the spider path, which means we're going to crawl back across the line of scrimmage, or we're going to trace the running back back if we get any kind of puller. And this is exactly what we get here. These are the three different types of nickel pressures that you're going to see in football. There is a reason why most analytics companies keep track of how many times a defense is running nickel pressures. They are one of the most important defensive calls that you can have, and literally everybody is running them from Pee Wee all the way up to the NFL. It's one of the most popular calls, but there's different structures to it, and then you have to have answers within your defense to kind of fit off what you're seeing, and that's where you get stone, stride, and spider, and that's where you hit outside, inside, and then even being able to read out of that. But if you're going to run that outside path, you still have to know what it means to when the back is to you or when the offense is in pistol or under center. Hopefully that was explained and you understand. Remember, I call those knife rules. If the running back is to me, I take the quarterback. If the running back is away, I bend to the back, and then we can adjust those for pistol with the quarterback's face to me or away. And then under center, there really is not a lot of RPOs. Go bend to the back. These are the paths for nickel pressures within modern football.